Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show. We're going to talk ChatGPT for blogging. And let me know in the chat if you could hear me. I think you probably can. We got the usual suspects out there. I see Daniel, what's up? We have Arshad. And if you are tuning in for the first time live, thanks. Let me know. Let me know where you're from. Be sure to say hello. You might notice that my voice sounds absolutely terrible. I was at a conference over the weekend and I talked a lot. It's always loud at conferences. Now, this conference that I went to is called Economy, and it's a personal finance, financial independence type blog type conference, not anything to do with blogging generally. So really cool. Got to catch up with a lot of people that I met last year at Economy. And yeah, it'll be again next March if you are interested in personal finance kind of stuff. I try to lure people in, even if you're not into that stuff right now. It's pretty cool. So we're going to talk blogging today. We're going to go as long as my voice can hold up, which I'm not going to talk too loud, but I think you can still hear me. We have Jason Paul is on as well. Good to see you, buddy. And we're just going to do some cool things with ChatGPT. I haven't been playing with it too much because I was at the conference. So, last week was a little busy closing out many activities before I, take the weekend off and all that. But I mean, largely, I am working Tuesday through Thursday most of the time anyway. But these couple days, it was like Friday, I literally was like going to the airport, travel day, that sort of thing. And Monday, same deal. I guess technically some other times I will actually, I'll check my email, do a couple things on Monday and Friday. But anyway, for today, we'll just kind of mess around. We see Helen is on too. What's going on? Good to see you. And I don't have like a super strong agenda today, so it's going to be more using ChatGPT. And actually, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. But if you have questions out there, or if you have observed some cool things in the last week or two, let me know. Because the thing is, GPT-4 was released, and I started using it, but I really only used it in the live stream last week, and maybe a couple like actual activities, but I didn't do any like pressure testing. I heard a couple other YouTubers that I watch, they said that they were like, it's amazing. I could tell a big difference. And I couldn't tell, honestly, if they were full of it because they only had like 1 day of experience. And I don't know exactly what they would have been testing. And they didn't share it. They said, it's really amazing. You could tell it's like flipping a switch and it was automatically better. And I was like, I didn't notice anything. It was pretty much the same, but I wasn't asking anything, super complicated. So quick note before we get into it too much, we do have one sponsor, that is Odys Global, the source for premium age domains. So if you're looking for an age domain that's like a domain that's been around for a while, it has backlinks pointing to it already, Odys is the place to go. Big marketplace. We'll roll an ad later. Today is a day where I definitely need to rest my voice. So we'll check that out. There's some other links in the description. There's a ton of them. But the other thing I'll point out is if you want the cheat sheet, the one that I've been sharing around quite a bit lately, and it is right over here. I could show you a couple of things. So it's a cheat sheet. I made it a Google Doc, not a PDF, because I will change and make some updates over time. I've already made some changes, but my goal was to have something short. Initially I started to put together a free course area, a repository of information, and it's just a lot, even though a lot of people jump in there and they'll go through everything. There's some videos. There's a lot of actually written text just because a lot of times honestly, it's faster for someone to read the content than watch the video, and then they get copy and paste and just use it. So there is a lot of written content over there. The point is, I wanted a cheat sheet style, so it wasn't too long. I'm not trying to write an ebook. I'm trying to make it really actionable. So that's what's in here. One of the most powerful one is creating your own prompts, and basically it's a prompt generator. So you could hop over here and snag that. There's a couple other things like within the course. So if you go follow the link in the description for the opt-in, basically get the cheat sheet, but you also get the AI resources area as well. It's all free. I'm not charging anything for it. You join the email list. That's the trade-off. You get the email list stuff. So let me know, like I said in the chat, if you've been doing anything super cool with ChatGPT. Give us some ideas. But one thing I haven't done in a little while, especially we're here on a fresh screen. Let me zoom out just a tad here. So we have ChatGPT here, and I have the paid version. If people haven't seen this, so they have the default, which is the 3.5. And then GPT-4, it is not as fast, but it is stronger as far as reasoning and conciseness, where 3.5 was not as strong in reasoning and conciseness, but it was faster. So depending on what you're doing, it may be beneficial to pick one or the other. The other thing, I think, if you're using GPT-4, they've actually made the cap much different. So there's a capacity noted here, and that is, it's kind of small text, but you get 25 messages every 3 hours. So when they first rolled it out last week, I think it was 100 messages every 4 hours, which is, I thought that was very generous, but now they've cut it down quite a bit. Like I said, I haven't like gone back and forth to test 3.5 versus 4 to see what would happen, but they also note expect significantly lower caps as we adjust for demand. So they may actually even throttle that up and down versus demand. And Eric is on here. What's up, buddy? I haven't seen you in a bit. GPT-4 is pretty powerful at understanding what you want. Cool. Have you tested it against like 3.5 and like noticed dramatically different results? So we're just going to start here, and we may actually, we could actually go back and forth. So we'll do GPT-4, and I'm going to ask for what it can help me do as a blogger. Yeah, as a blogger. So this is a great starting point, just generally, if you have no idea where to go. In the previous weeks, I encourage you, if you haven't watched other live streams, there's been probably like 2 to 3 weeks I've been doing like pretty in-depth kind of tutorials, which we may just jump off in that direction too. And I could tell, pretty obviously, GPT-4 is, slower with the output, but that is expected. The thing is, with a question like this, what can you help me do as a blogger? It's not really like, we probably don't need the extra reasoning and power of GPT-4, but why not test it out? So we're getting plenty of ideas, and what we may do is just kind of go through a handful of these. All right. And Eric tells us that he has tested GPT-4 on cognition tasks, and there's an incredible difference between that and 3.5. So writing simple things, it's pretty subtle. Okay, and that makes total sense to me. One of the ideas that I had, Eric, that I have not tested, but maybe we could check it out today, is to sort of synthesize new ideas, or at least pull together threads that are not obviously connected. So we may take a look at that. So having a quick look here. So we have like 10 items here. We have ideation, keyword research, content creation, writing headlines, proofreading, content strategy, social media, email marketing, monetization, analytics, and tracking. Okay. So what we can do is look at, so we did cover coming up with ideas and keyword research in the last couple weeks, but maybe we can go a little bit deeper in one of those areas. So generally, this is really pretty helpful, but let's say we have a blog on, well, I just talked about personal finance, so we could do that. So I'll say I have a blog on personal finance. And we'll say it's on personal finance and financial independence. And I'll say, what are good categories of content? And I'll make it specific so it doesn't go on. What are 10 good categories of content ideas? And I'll say provide keywords for each category too. And I'll be specific. We'll say 5 keywords for each category. All right. So this is a perfect cadence. I'll ask ChatGPT something, and then Eric will tell me something smart. So thanks, Eric, for helping out. So you can ask ChatGPT to take 2 ideas and then merge them together to explain how they work. And you've used it extensively for medical research, but it still provides many disclaimers. Okay. And I'm thinking about aiming for, we could even do the exact example that I talked about last week, where I will mention like 2 books that have been out for several years, and then see if there's some cool threads of ideas that we can combine together. Where, technically, it doesn't mean the ChatGPT is coming up with like new ideas. It's probably been written about somewhere out there. But let's say there's something about productivity in a few different books, different strategies. You maybe could come up with like the 25 best lessons about productivity from several different books. And there, maybe you read them in the past. I'm thinking about myself. Maybe I read them in the past, but it's not fresh on my mind. I haven't read the book in a while, or any of the books in a while. All right, cool. So if the people out there just tuning in, I've asked ChatGPT to basically help me with content ideas for a personal finance and financial independence blog, provide 10 categories of content and 5 keywords for each category. So essentially, I'm building a content strategy plan. And the way I put this question in, I knew what I was aiming for. So from this, we have 50 ideas, right? So we're starting off, and I can zoom in a little bit here. So we start off with budgeting and saving. We have creating a budget, emergency fund, saving goals, frugal living tips, go into investing. We have debt management, retirement planning, tax planning, insurance, credit and credit scores. We have the financial independence and retire early movement, money mindset and psychology, and side hustles and entrepreneurship. And then we have 5 keywords for each one of these. So again, we have 50 content ideas. We could probably like narrow down many of the keywords that are suggested to something a little bit more specific. They may stand alone, right? I ask for kind of broad categories, but some of these, for example, stock market basics, that could probably be a series of several blog posts at a minimum, right? The stock market isn't, even the basics, it's not very straightforward. Passive investing, dividend investing, like there are literally whole books written about each one of these topics. Real estate investing, that splinters out into so many different areas as well. Crypto investing, don't even get started about that. So tons of ideas. So if you're let's go zoom out here for a second. So let's say you're thinking, hey, I think I maybe want to start a blog on like this topic area. I have a couple ideas, but I'm not sure if I'll run out of ideas. This would be a great way to just get new ideas, even if it delivers you like this 50 new ideas. You can go in and put in your own thoughts in there for sure. And for the people just tuning in, my voice is trashed. I went to a conference over the weekend, so I don't think I have a beautiful voice normally, but right now it sounds rough. It sounds really rough. Okay, so Eric tells me that my idea works well. You tried it. And okay, so you say what can I learn about productivity from the book Ender's Game by Orson Scott? That's the prompt okay, perfect. So let's try mine in a second here. We'll go a little bit deeper. I'll try to figure out how to tie it together. So hopefully this chatbot will sort of have the right idea. It'll be thinking about blogging and a couple other things. So I'll have to think of a few different books, which might be hard because I haven't read a ton in this area. But okay. Let's see here. So we have category ideas. We have some keyword ideas. So now we can dial it in to a specific area. So like I said, we'll just take it through an example, and then we'll start playing around with stuff that we haven't done before. So write a detailed outline. So we'll have a detailed outline here. It's basically doing all the research. So I haven't mentioned it here yet, but in a general sense, I don't recommend that you produce content that you want to rank on Google or other search engines with ChatGPT unless you are providing it most of the inputs. For example, if you recorded, actually you could use like a voice recorder or whatever, but basically if you create a transcript or some way you put in your own inputs for ChatGPT on a given topic, and then you say, write a blog post based on these 5,000 words that I've spoken, and they're actually thoughts from your head, that would probably be undetectable as AI because it's all the thoughts from your head, probably written in somewhat in your voice. Like that would probably be totally fine. You wouldn't have an issue, I don't think. But which I'm going to do in a second, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to write the blog post based on this outline, and I'll give it a little bit of a guideline, but I'll also ask it to provide the specific like subheadings, formatting, use bullet points, all that kind of stuff. And we'll be able to get essentially a full blog post written, and we'll be able to copy and paste it directly into WordPress. But I wouldn't recommend publishing that on a blog where you're trying to get traffic from Google, even though Google has said that they're okay with AI content if it's helpful. You're probably going to end up with something pretty derivative of other content online if you just rely directly on ChatGPT to produce the content for you. But again, if you're providing the inputs, maybe you go and do research on your own and provide the references and other material, then it's probably going to be much different than what ChatGPT would come up with on its own. So let's see. Since we're using GPT-4, it does take a little while. I'm gonna stop. This is like a book. This is long enough for a book. Okay, so I'm not gonna do the whole thing. I'm gonna ask it to write the first 3 sections. So write a blog post on the first 3 sections. I'll paste it in. And I'll give it a certain word count to aim for. I'll say 900 word. Okay, so we'll let that roll for a second. All right, and Johnny says, have you been using ChatGPT to write blog posts? Not very many. I've tested a few times. As I mentioned before, I wouldn't necessarily, or not necessarily, I'm not recommending that you try to get content from ChatGPT and publish it to rank in Google. So, Eric, again, coming in, perfect cadence. You found GPT-4 to be 10 to 15% better at evading AI detection than 3.5. However, if you add a lot of content exactly like you're describing, it does much better. And Helen agrees. Cool. Thanks, Helen, for the input there. And I think, this is something that's going to be interesting because, there are the tools out there that are, using AI to detect AI. And as the AI gets better, the content will be harder to detect. But as the AI gets better, then the tools to detect AI will also get better. So there's going to be just some kind of weird cat and mouse game going on, which, I mean, the thing is, it largely might be a waste of time because the, the thing is, Google's detectors are probably much different than whatever, people like us are coming up with to create tools. And I mean, certainly there must be some better software engineers and product managers and stuff. But I mean, I'm not putting myself on the same level as some of the tools out there. But one of the top tools for which I'm an affiliate, there's a link down here. It is what's the one called? Originality AI. I mean, one of my friends, one of my peers is one of the founders, and he's a smart dude, but I have a software background. I did project management, and I mean, they don't. When I was chatting with him, I interviewed him, John Gillum. I interviewed him. He's like, I'm not really, sure like how it works exactly, but we train the AI to go out there and detect it. So the point is, I think Google probably has more sophisticated cool tools than whatever, we're able to throw together in a few months here. That's my take. So even if the AI detector is detected or not, it probably doesn't really matter that much. Okay. And we end up with a network error, but we got a lot written here, and there's a good intro divided into sections. So going to Johnny's question, have you been using GPT to write these blog posts? I haven't been, but you can do a lot. I've recorded a couple of videos, not just writing the content, you can improve the content that you have. You could ask about flaws in your logic. You can ask about FAQs, other things to add in there to make your content better. So I think using it as a tool might be a little bit better. And it might be a tool for research or coming up with ideas, just like we're talking about. So, Bradbury's on as well. And Eric says, in Google's latest research paper, they say they use Roberta-based GPT detector. They might have something better now, though. Okay. All right. Johnny says, do I outsource blog post? Yeah, correct. If so, how do you check if it's AI content or do I just accept it? Usually, so I don't have very many writers that I'm working with. So yeah, I know I usually don't check. In fact, recently I have encouraged my writer to use ChatGPT more, and she's somewhat reluctant to. She enjoys writing, and she doesn't want there to be any issues. So she's actually writing it and not using the tools too much. So, all right, cool. What we're going to do in a second here, let's see. So we have the network error going on. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to roll the ad from Odys Global, let my voice rest a little bit. D is here. You're late, but that's cool. Good to see. All right, I'm going to roll this ad, and I'll be back in a minute. This message is brought to you by Odys Global, the source for premium age domains that mean business. The featured domain for today is called Team Origin, which we'll take a little bit of a closer look at, both in Hrefs and some of their historical data out there. Before we get into all those details, I do want to point out, even if you're not interested in teamorigin.com, there are, I think, thousands of other domains out there on Odys, and they have this great filtering mechanism. So if you have a tech-related blog or a gardening interest, you can find a domain that can work for you. So be sure to check out that stuff. And they also added a make an offer pricing structure, not really pricing, but make an offer mechanism. So if you see a domain you like on here, you can make an offer. So the domain for today, as I mentioned, is called Team Origin. And let's zoom all the way back up here. So it's 18 years old, has a domain rating of 19, domain authority of 35, very brandable, which I didn't actually know what this was, but this site was dedicated to sailing, yachting, boating, and living at sea, which I'm not scared of the ocean specifically, but I don't spend much time there. You know, I'm very much inland. I'm more of a mountains person. And one of the main reasons is the sharks in the ocean. You know, you got to look out for sharks. They're everywhere from what I understand. I don't know. Like I said, I don't spend much time in the ocean, but if you're into water sports, this may be a perfect domain for you. The original site from back in the day, back in 2005, it says Britain's challenge for the 33rd America's Cup. And of course, this is what websites used to look like, which seems bananas. But this was a pretty decent website. Now, this was back from 2008 is when this screenshot was from. But if we zoom far ahead to 2018, we see, you know, something a little more recognizable and pretty legit site. You can monetize this kind of site. I mean, I think you actually could potentially still cover some of the, I guess, sailing and racing and competition aspect of this ocean-based sport. But the thing is, I don't know. I mean, I assume it's still just as big as ever. But anyway, you could also cover things just related to the industry, boating equipment, yacht charters, sailing gear, other things that you might need out there on the water, navigation, safety, and maybe some training on seamanship and living on a boat, travel destinations. I mean, you could even make it somewhat of a sort of a lifestyle type blog. I assume people take the sea as a lifestyle. Again, not me specifically, because of all those sharks are out there, and I don't know, dolphins too. Those could be pretty scary. Okay, moving on. We'll look over here at Ahrefs, and we can see domain rating of 19. We have 108 referring domains. We have 81 do follow, and we'll just take a quick look, and we have 93 listed here. And if you hear weird noises in the background, that is the my Google Home device. It seems to hear me and start talking in the other room. It's very distracting. So we have Wikipedia links. Those are no follow, of course. But the thing is, we have bbc.co.uk, bbc.com, lemon.fr, and then WikiWand, Orange. Let's go over to the do follow link so we can filter those out. Orange.com, Jaguar, Land Rover. We have Yachting World, a handful of others. Some good links, Sailing World, a couple of others which I haven't heard of, but maybe perfectly relevant. The point is, you've got a great domain here. awesome backlinks. You can check it out over here on Odys. And if you join using my link, then you can get $100 into your account. And if you buy something, I might get a commission. So check it out. And don't forget, there's all this filtering that you can do. And you can filter on the language, the industry, top level domain or TLD, SEO values, and such. So thanks a lot to Odys, and be sure to check it out. All right. And we're back. We're back. We have a couple other folks on. That is Marcus, what's happening? And oh yeah, another great comment from Eric that freelance writers are taking a hit these days. Yeah, and I think, when you look at it practically, a lot of folks, well, the people that would be on this live stream, like we probably have done a little bit of writing on our own. We probably know like a lot of pieces of SEO. We know a lot of pieces of content, and just we have some skills. And these tools are like so helpful, especially obviously with ChatGPT and the iterative improvements that we've seen over the years. It makes a lot of sense that people like us can maybe write a sales page that would have been pretty tough for us to do before because we're not specifically trained as copywriters. We may know what a good sales page looks like, but we haven't created one ourselves. Tools like ChatGPT will make that like super easy, especially if we know enough to say, here's what the product is about, here's the benefits, here's some struggles that people have, here's what the tool or what the product solves, here's a few testimonials. We probably can get a really excellent sales page written by ChatGPT and not have to hire a copywriter. That would be potentially extremely expensive. And I've mentioned a couple of times in this stream already, and all my other streams, you potentially could use ChatGPT or derivative tools to write blog content, but maybe it's not a great idea to try to rank that content. However, if you're writing emails, if you're writing sales emails, you don't really care if it's detectable as AI as long as it reads well and communicates what you need. So you probably, it doesn't matter. You can write all of your emails with ChatGPT. So there was a whole industry. I remember listening to podcasts. I think there was someone that I heard as they were coming up. I think maybe they worked for some podcast or bloggers or something, and then they became the autoresponder guy. And I think there was a podcast, it was like the autoresponder guy. I would say you don't need that anymore. I think if you could come up with a handful of just like headlines, you probably don't even have to come up with headlines. So we could check on that in a second. Now, based on Eric's checking just a second ago, again, Eric, I need you as a producer on each one of these shows now. We're going to play around. So let's go back. We'll see if ChatGPT is going to work for us here. So I reloaded the page. We had a network issue a minute ago. So what are productivity tips from these books? And I'm going to put in like 4 books, and we're going to see what we can come up with here. And then we'll take it a step further and test my hypothesis about an email autoresponder series based on, we won't write the whole thing out, but we'll see what ChatGPT can do. Quick note, if you want to check out my cheat sheet, it's about 5 pages of very helpful prompts here. There's really no fat in here. There's no BS. It's just prompts, a few examples, and a couple prompts that are really powerful, like creating your own prompt or reverse engineering a prompt. You just sign up over here, and that's it. It's free. There's no other cost or anything like that. You just sign up. Okay, so we have the 4-hour work week. We have deep work, and what are some others? We'll say like the power of habit. Power of habit. Put in like one more. Let me look at my shelf back there. How about essentialism? That's a good one. Essentialism. Hopefully, I mean, these books are all several years old. So we'll just see what we come up with here. And then we'll dig a little deeper. And J. Paul says, sharks. Yeah, whenever I think of, I mean, I'm not specifically scared of the ocean. I don't have like a big fear or anything like that. But, you know, I don't spend that much time out there. I've gone snorkeling, and one of the maybe dumbest things that I've done, it wasn't too bad, but I was visiting a friend in the Bahamas. He worked like kind of not in a military base, but it was a military area. He was a contractor there. A group of us went down. So we were like we were probably like 30, something like that. So we went down there, had a great time. It was really fun. My buddy got into spearfishing, right? Is that what you call it? Spearfishing. So you go down, you have like a rubber band kind of thing on a spear, and you like, you know, spear the fish. You swim down, you have some flippers on, and yeah, you swim down, get a fish, and then we all got a fish. I actually like spearfished, got a fish, and then we like cooked them up for dinner. It was amazing, super cool. But yeah, to that point, we were like swimming in, I don't know, it was like say 20 or 30 feet deep, something like that. I could swim fine. I actually am not a scuba person or anything like that, but I could swim okay. I actually don't float that well. I'm pretty lean, so not a lot of fat, and I don't float that well. So pretty active, but anyway, we were down there, and I was swimming. We were in pairs, right? So we're smart enough to at least be in pairs. We were swimming down there, and me and my buddy, we don't know shit. We don't know what we're like going after, and we got very light instructions, right, from my buddy. He's like, yeah, just whatever, you know, don't shoot a dolphin or what. Like, we didn't say anything like that, but he was like, no, you're pretty much good to go. So anyway, the thing is, we were going around, and we went after, I think they were barracudas. All right, so we were going after a fish that we should not have been going after. We didn't shoot at them, but we were like, oh, those are great looking ones. We thought they were a different kind of fish, all right? One that we should go after. So we're trailing them, and then I was like, we're getting kind of far away from the boat. We should turn back. So we went back, and we're like giving hand signals. We don't know what we're doing again. So we turn back, and we like start heading that way, and we would look, and the fish are coming back after us, which was a bad sign. Turns out we made it through okay. So you always got to look out for sharks. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So we have key insights on productivity from the 4-hour work week, deep work, the power of habit, and essentialism. Oh, and Helen says Atomic Habits. I just read that one, and I did enjoy it. Per someone's recommendation in here, I was like, Power of Habit, I felt like covered most of the things that I needed. I thought maybe Atomic Habits was just a book that was a little too derivative of several books that I already read, but I do like James Clear. Okay. So let's take a quick look. We have an outline for each one, or like we have a few things from each one of these. So I will also ask for Atomic Habits. So the thing that I would want to see now is to essentially connect the ideas from each one of these 5 books so that we have like a connective thread. So they may not all fit together perfectly, but that's where the interesting part comes in. So if it is able to like give us a couple paragraphs on, you know, how things are similar or different, that would be really good. All right. And Johnny says, no, No Royal Caribbean cruise. No, but funny thing, I've been watching like these YouTube videos of employees that work on cruises. It's pretty interesting. I have some friends that actually like to do cruises, so I may check them out. I also recently read the book called Die with Zero. Highly recommended. I thought I kind of got the point, but it was really impactful. So one of the thoughts there in Die with Zero is I'm pretty active these days, and cruises generally are not going to be like active in the way that I want them to be. I know there's a lot of shit to do on the boats, right? But really, I want to go hiking and be outdoors, and generally being on a ship. It puts you that, I mean, number one, you're so close to sharks at that point. So they're right there. They're not going to get in the boat probably, but you can't guarantee it. But the other part is cruises are probably better for me when I'm, say, 65 and up. For the next several years, for the next 20 years, I should be really active doing things that I could do only when I'm in my now mid 40s. And then later, my body will have even more wear and tear, and I won't be able to do these strenuous activities, but I could do them now. So good question, though. Good question. All right. So let's take a look. We have now 5 books where we have short outlines on the productivity tips from each of those books. So I'm not sure. This is part of the process, by the way. So I'm not sure what prompt I should use to tie together the ideas. But the cool thing here is I can chat back and forth. We have the collective knowledge of everyone here. So when I make a mistake, you could tell me to do it better. But basically, once you have a prompt, we could have a prompt that I could always use to tie together ideas in books, right? So, or blog post, or maybe I put in a transcript for a podcast. And then you could just use it again and again and hone it and refine it however we need it to be. Okay. So I think I want to start with something about tying together ideas. Okay, so here's what I have so far, and I'm just making it up as a hypothetical example. Tie together a few ideas from each book to write 300 words as an intro for a book about productivity. Actually, and I'll change that. An intro for a YouTube video. And I saw a couple questions come in. I'm going to jump to them if I skipped yours before. Not intentional, but I'll go back. So tie together a few ideas from each book, and I'll say be sure to credit each author for the idea. Credit or footnote. Okay. So we'll see what we come up with here. As I mentioned before, I have this prompt engineering cheat sheet. So one thing that we can do, and that's what this reverse engineering idea is. So basically, I don't know exactly what prompt is going to be best to use to pull together ideas from various books. However, by the time we finish doing this, we probably will have something pretty good. There may be some back and forth. So I gave a little example here. You'll see it's short. I don't write all the responses that ChatGPT provides, but basically I ask for some output, I ask for some refinements, and at the end, I say, write a prompt that I can use again, consider all the details mentioned above. So then you end up with a prompt that takes into consideration all the refinements. So you end up with something that you could use at the beginning as a prompt to set up the chatbot, and you don't have all the back and forth, to the point where you can say, here are the 5 books, and here's the topic area, here's the word count I want, and then you could just paste it in, and then you have a chat bot that works really well. And the cool thing here, right, so I asked for footnotes so that I can write it. Well, not me. It can be written such that I'm not saying these are my ideas. I'm saying, like, here's where the ideas came from. Here's how we're going to tie them together. Okay, so someone did ask about using ChatGPT to script YouTube. Johnny did. Yeah, so I have used ChatGPT to come up with outlines and some scripts. Usually, it's like 80% good. And then you can tweak it and add more details. But for podcasts, for YouTube, where you're not trying to rank on Google, where it actually doesn't matter that much if it's AI generated, perfect. That is a great use case. Additionally, you probably can use it for just anything else that is not ranking in Google. Or if you don't care if you need to rank in Google, then yeah, you could use it almost exclusively. Again, if you feed in your own ideas, then it kind of buffers any kind of issues that you might have because it is your own thoughts. Okay, so let's take a look at this before we go back to the chat. And I'll zoom in. I'll read a little bit here for you. So as for YouTube script about productivity, so we have, welcome to today's YouTube video where we'll explore powerful productivity tips from some of the most influential books on personal and professional growth. We'll dive into insights from Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, Cal Newport's Deep Work, Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit, Greg McKeown's Essentialism, and James Clear's Atomic Habits. By combining ideas from these thought leaders, you can create a comprehensive productivity system tailored to your unique goals and lifestyle. First, let's discuss the importance of focusing on the essential tasks that contribute most to your goals, as suggested by both the Pareto principle from the 4-Hour Workweek and the concept of discernment from Essentialism. By prioritizing these high-impact tasks, you can ensure that your efforts yield the greatest results. Additionally, dedicating blocks of time for deep, focused work, as proposed in Deep Work, can further amplify your productivity by minimizing distractions and allowing you to make meaningful progress on projects. So I'll pause here really quick and just say, this is pretty insane, right? Like, there's no grammar issues. It reads pretty well. If I had trouble with some of the multiple syllable words, I could probably ask for a simpler and shorter words, make it a little bit easier. A lot of times, if you're writing something to be spoken versus written and actually read, then you'll want shorter sentences. Sometimes long sentences are hard to follow, but I said it was a YouTube script, so inherently this is pretty readable. So let's keep going. Next, we'll explore the transformative power of habits. In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg highlights the habit loop, the importance of changing routines to improve habits. Similarly, James Clear's Atomic Habits emphasizes starting small and leveraging the 4 laws of behavior change to build good habits to break bad ones. By aligning your habits with your desired identity and focusing on incremental improvements, you can create lasting positive change in your life. Lastly, it's crucial to optimize your environment and daily routine to support productivity. This includes eliminating non-essential tasks as recommended by the 4-Hour Workweek and Essentialism, and setting boundaries to protect your time and energy. Additionally, implementing strategies from deep work like embracing boredom and limiting social media usage can help maintain focus and prevent digital distractions. So, and then there's a summary at the end, which I won't belabor here. But one thing that could be interesting, and I won't ask it to rewrite the whole script here, but maybe I'll just say, like, can you add some metaphors to make the connection stronger with the viewer? Let's zoom out here a little bit. And, I'm asking to add the metaphors here, but if you were a little creative, you could add your own metaphors. For some reason, for no reason at all, we've been talking a lot about the ocean and sharks today. I know why. It's because the featured domain today from Odys was related to maritime thoughts. So, of course, you got to look out for sharks. That's where my mind went to right away. The point is, if you had your own metaphors or humor that you wanted to add in here, you could ask for it. You can make it a little bit more interesting by adding those metaphors. Even better, right? Instead of adding metaphors from ChatGPT, if I had my own personal stories, right? I'm a productivity nerd, right? So I could insert some of my own ideas for each one of these. Now I ask for an intro for a YouTube video, so it's kind of short. We're just hitting the high points. But if we dove into a specific section, then I could add my own examples. And by the way, it doesn't have to be your own example. If you read a book, you can use an example from a book. And if many of you are smart out there, you read and you've read these books, and in all of these books, there are examples from just random, athletes, business people, entrepreneurs, authors, other, random people throughout history that they're just stories, right? They're stories that we've heard or read elsewhere. So those are 100% fine to use. You don't have to use your own specific story if you don't have one, or if you could draw upon someone else's story, that's even better. Okay, so let's just take a quick look. I'm not going to read the whole thing here. So, quick note on this one. So, talking about the Pareto principle. So, imagine your goals as a thriving garden. By prioritizing these high impact tasks, you can ensure that you're watering the most fruitful plants. So, throwing in a little metaphor there. And further, deep work can amplify your productivity by building a greenhouse around your most important projects and protecting them from the storms of distraction. So it just makes it a little bit more interesting, even if that's a bit of a stretch. And the greenhouse, it can protect from storms and distraction, or storms of distraction. But really, especially around here, it's warmer in there. It's warmer in the greenhouse. So makes it a little bit more interesting. There's another one here, like a blacksmith forging a strong sword, right? So you can make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, I'm going to jump back to the chat. And if folks have any interesting stories or questions, let me know. Okay. Classic WWE says, what happened to pictures for ChatGPT? I haven't used any of that. I saw some demos and maybe some other people. I never saw a spot where I could put in pictures. Does anyone know about that? Could you put pictures in here? I thought you have to use another tool, which I haven't played with at all, by the way. Like Midjourney. I see people doing Midjourney stuff, and I want to check it out, especially for YouTube thumbnails. That seems very interesting to me. And Canva does have some AI generation capabilities, but it would be really cool if it was. I love Canva. I don't even know if I'm an affiliate, but I pay for it, and I have a few people on my team that can use it on my account, But I think, especially like starting with like the real images, I think Alex over at WP Eagle, I've seen a couple of his thumbnails where I think they were AI generated, but based on like his own photos, right? And I think that's pretty cool. And actually, I just emailed a buddy of mine locally here. If folks watch or listen to my other podcast, Mile High Fi, I just interviewed him. His name's Justin, and he's been retired for about a year, but he's been playing with Midjourney and AI images and stuff like that. And he has a pretty cool, I saw just one of them that he put out where it was in the style of I forget exactly I forget the name of it. I'll have to go look it up, but it's essentially like the old national park images. Maybe it's the WPA style national park images. And I have a lot of, photography of like just wilderness stuff, and to have it in that style would be super cool. Just convert it over. And it looked amazing. It looked exactly like that style. Okay. Moving on here. More on the shark. So J. Paul says, ChatGPT, you're a world-renowned shark expert. How can we stay away from sharks? Okay. Marcus says, we have a lot of cruises between cities in Europe. I can go from the Netherlands to the UK or Norway overnight and wake up in another country. Really nice. Yes. That's the only cruise that I've been on. So we started in Amsterdam and went through Belgium and some of the Netherlands, of course, but stopped at a couple cities. Super cool. And then we ended in the Netherlands too. I think we went by Rotterdam. Yeah. Big port, like the biggest port in the world or something. Tony's on. What's going on? Yep. And I was going to say on the cruises, there's some talk of cruises. Yeah, I have some friends that are like, they're more into it. And one of them's going on like a 20+ day river cruise in Europe. I'm not 100% sure where he's going. I think it's more like Mediterranean based. Okay. Johnny says, I was thinking to use ChatGPT to make summary of the book videos they make on YouTube. Yeah, that could be something. Yeah. I'm not sure how that would work in practice, but I think that's doable, or will be doable if it's not yet. Oh gosh, there's no sharks in Arizona, but there are mountain lions. Yeah, there are mountain lions out there. You don't know they're there, though. I guess that's kind of like sharks. And Daniel says ChatGPT can't create prompts for pictures. Yep, and I have seen that where you tell ChatGPT it's a Midjourney prompt generator and go from there. The thing is, when I watch, I've watched people on YouTube do some of that work, but generally the prompts were kind of shitty, at least the way that they were doing it. Maybe I watched someone who didn't have their head around it quite yet, but it looked like it didn't do a very good job. And it was better if they just like if they asked for a prompt that was sort of generalized, and then they like made it more, or they tailored it specifically. So, but I felt like it didn't really do a good job. But it's all usage, right? And they'll figure it out. Okay, cool. So generally, you can use ChatGPT to come up with some great ideas. You can get keywords. If you have a blog, or if you're about to start a blog, you can get a bunch of ideas. Now, I think something that would be even more useful, a lot of people do have blogs here. What you probably can do, and I'll throw out some ideas that we're not going to test here yet, but you could do it on your own. let's say you have all the titles of the blog post on your site. Maybe you even know the keywords they're targeting, but let's say you don't and you just have the list. You could probably feed that into ChatGPT and say, I have articles on these topics. Feed the full list in. Then you can come back and say, what category areas have I not covered? What are keywords that I haven't covered yet? And then end up with a list of things that you can approach at that point. You could use another tool to check the keyword search volume if you want after that, but generally that'll get you there. And then of course we tested it live here, and there's a pretty strong there's a pretty strong case that you can do the thing that I have contended that AI can't do that well. I don't know if this does as good of a job as I hoped, but we kept this at a pretty high level. But basically, I asked ChatGPT about productivities from 5 different books, some of which are not specifically, I mean, there's productivity ideas, but they're not specifically about productivity. And then I asked to connect the thoughts between the different books. I think if you read the books, then you would be able to pick specific ideas and tie them together. And one thing, as we're finishing up here, if you have the opportunity, if you found this helpful or entertaining, hit the thumbs up. That helps other people find it. Please do check out the other videos. Check out the other videos on the channel. I did a live stream a couple weeks ago that I had edited down. So instead of an hour, it's 30 minutes. I cut out all the chat, but it's pretty much a tutorial on coming up with prompts, creating a prompt generator situation. So what I'm going to do is ask if ChatGPT thinks any of the books have opposing thoughts and what they are. So this would be perhaps one of the most interesting things that you could do, where you're comparing and I guess actually contrasting the ideas from these different books where people have a different take. And then you can riff on that a little bit harder. You probably can find examples where you can make these ideas compete. And that is often more interesting than saying, all right, these two guys agree and they're talking about the same thing. And they're just saying, yeah, I agree. Yeah, more of this, more of this. So checking it out here. And it may be a little misguided. And all right, this is a secret. I try not to do this, by the way. But basically, if you create content, especially on like short form content where you can't put in like full ideas, if you create controversial content where people are going to comment because they disagree and you did something stupid, those will often do better. So a quick example, I watched, there was a video and it was like how to make, this is a YouTube short. It was like how to make whatever, $1,000 a day using ChatGPT. And the person opened up by showing a web page with transactions. And I don't know, it was like for their online course or something. I don't know what it was. They didn't say. They just said, look at all this, look at all these transactions, you know, whatever, it's $1,000 a day. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was just one day, right? And then they said, here's what you could do with ChatGPT. And they talked about like producing content and then earning money through affiliate marketing, right? At that point, ChatGPT was so new, and even now it might still be too new. There's no way the person was earning that money from, this was like a weekend, right? There's no way that person was earning like $1,000 a day from affiliate marketing content that he was able to publish and get from ChatGPT And the transactions were, I mean, it didn't even say what it was for. It was just a list of transactions. It could have been like just a random bank account, right? It doesn't even matter. There were a bazillion comments on there like, dude, you're not proving that you could earn money from ChatGPT. You just showed us transactions. So the more incomplete the content is, the more people are going to try to contradict or disagree with the content, which actually makes the content blow up because there's all this interaction. People are leaving comments on short form content because it's bullshit. And they're calling it out. They're saying this is bullshit. And then it makes the video go viral because all the people are actually having an issue with it. Not cool, huh? All right, let's see what we come up with here. So these books generally complement each other, but there are some areas that differ or emphasize different aspects of productivity. So we can actually, if we wanted to, right, from a content idea standpoint, these all could serve as a section or a YouTube video or a podcast or whatever. So time and effort commitment. So the 4-hour work week promotes the idea of working less by focusing on the most valuable tasks, outsourcing and automating. In contrast, deep work emphasizes the need for dedicated, intense periods of focused work to achieve mastery in a skill or field. These are not inherently contradictory, but they reflect different approaches to managing time and effort. As I said, you could do a YouTube video or a podcast on this. If you were doing a podcast, it could be really interesting to talk to someone who took the 4-hour work week approach and hear their story. And then in the same conversation, have someone that emphasizes deep work and maybe they don't outsource anything, they don't automate anything, and you could hear their different approaches. Next is information consumption. So 4-hour work week recommends a low information diet, and deep work suggests limiting distractions like social media, but deep work emphasizes the importance of deliberate practice and learning, which may mean that you need to find high quality information. Okay, we'll do one more here. Power of Habit and Atomic Habits both discuss formation of habits. Power of Habit focuses on the habit loop, the cue, routine, and reward, and changing routines to improve habits. Atomic Habits, on the other hand, emphasizes starting small, focusing on systems instead of goals, and using the 4 laws of behavior change to build good habits and break bad ones. So part of this, I wanted to pick books that actually had, some productivity thoughts in there anyway. And often, well, a lot of these like reference the same source material anyway, but you end up with different emphasis, even though they're not completely contradicting, which was pointed out specifically. But this could be a pretty interesting like video. Some people really like these books. They have huge followings. So like I could see someone doing a video. Here are my 5 favorite books, right? Maybe I could do this, right? Here are my 5 favorite books on working, productivity, and something else. Here are some commonalities between the books. Here are areas of different emphasis, and here's how it works out to me. And then maybe, you could ask ChatGPT to distill down like the summary, like the 10 top tips from these books and how you could use them in a practical way. So this was GPT-4. And yeah, I think it is a little bit better. I would actually be interested to check to see if I gave the same prompts to like 3.5 or something different, or maybe I hop over to the playground and see what I get if I use like a different version and what happens. Okay, so I'll finish up by taking a look at the last couple comments here. Jill is on. What's happening? It's been a while. CX Nation, do I use Ezoic? I do, yes. And Johnny says, how much of this information is legit? Have you fact-checked anything they say? So for the example that we looked at today with these books, I've read all these books multiple times. This was all correct. So all of this was correct. And I think that's kind of key, right? So the books that we picked here have been out for a while. I think the most recent one is probably Atomic Habits, and that's like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, something like that. So there's plenty of information out there already on these books, and most of it should be mostly accurate. So these are all solid. Some of the books are, pretty old, like 4 Hour Work Week is whatever, 2007. Yeah, so all these books are fairly old, which is good. Now, if we were dealing with a more controversial topic where there's opposing views out there, that would be somewhat of a problem. You might have to, fact check and figure out what's right or wrong. All right. And if it's something else or something that you're not familiar with, you would need to fact check it for sure. Daniel says it's 10,000 a day now. Yeah, it goes up exponentially. GPT-4 came out and it's like even more. All right. And Bradbury says, I see some guy's video in the UK and he pronounces words wrong all the time. The amount of comments it gets is ridiculous. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like if you're just a little bit wrong and maybe slightly abrasive, then people will comment more. They'll comment more because they want to like argue with you. That's how the internet is. So, all right. Who is Joe says, do you reckon that ChatGPT will take business from Upwork and other content writing businesses? Yes, I think so. All right. For sure. And hopefully what it'll do is push, sorry for the springy noise. Hopefully what it'll do is push the quality higher. So I think the good content creators and freelancers are going to figure out how to use the tools to create better content. And there will be some people that like, it won't even matter. Like they just need to continue to write well. But I think even high level, very good writers can use something like ChatGPT to find holes in their logic. That maybe, especially if they're very good writers and they're very good researchers. I met someone over the weekend and she's a professional writer, like a very high level writer, went to like Ivy League school, like very super smart, very well qualified, great researcher, good communicator, on and on and on. And she probably doesn't need ChatGPT to do a lot of the stuff that we just mentioned, but she is kind of a new creator on like YouTube or podcast, right? So she could probably use ChatGPT to come up with some great ideas, some great keyword ideas. She doesn't know anything about SEO or keyword research or the stuff that is pretty basic in our world here. And basically, she would be able to put in some of her core ideas and then get a bunch of keywords, get a bunch of show ideas that she can use. And then maybe she comes up with her own outline and then says, hey, ChatGPT, did I miss anything? What would you add to the outline to make it more thorough? What about someone who disagrees with me? What questions might they ask that I need to fill in here? So if there's opposing views, how can I go ahead and answer that? That comes in big for like a sales page, right? So what opposing thoughts might a potential customer have? How can I talk about those? If someone is looking at, it doesn't even matter what the product is, but if they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough time to be able to do this. Well, you could say, oh, are you worried about how long this is going to take? Here's how long it takes. Here's a couple testimonials that explain how long it takes to use this product to do a certain thing. Even if you don't have any skills and you've never used a shark repellent laser, it's really easy to learn. It just takes 10 minutes and it's 100% effective. And it turns out, the best way to not get attacked by a shark, you stay away from the ocean, right? They have that stupid fact where they say, most most of the shark attacks happen in like less than 3 feet of water. Have you heard that out there? Most shark attacks are like less than 3 feet of water. And the reason why is because that's where all the people are, right? There's not people in the deeper water. They're all at the shore, kicking their feet around, looking like baby seals about to get eaten. And that's why you got to stay away from the ocean. Okay. I feel like we're getting off track here. Jason says, this was a really good stream. Thanks, man. I never would have found these commonalities, and I love how the output kicked off new ideas for other sorts of content. You're welcome. Thanks for checking it out. Everyone tell your friends. Watch these videos. And Johnny says, the ChatGPT already took away a lot of freelance copywritings from what I heard. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people... I think that's probably true, but where'd you hear it from? I don't know. The internet's crazy, right? Who's Joe says, since it came out, I only use it. I used to use Upwork and others, but now I just use ChatGPT. All right. And thanks for the extra thumbs up, everyone. I like the video myself already. And yep, I should switch to my other account so I could like it like 5 more times. And Marcus says, do you think the paid version of ChatGPT is worth it? I'm still using the free version. I think so. It depends on what you're doing and why, but I was paying for Jasper before. I'm the worst affiliate in the world for Jasper. I was paying for Jasper, which was like $60 a month. And ChatGPT is probably, 10x better, and it's 1/3 of the cost. So pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. And I just pulled those stats out of the air there, but really ChatGPT is much better. And I think because of the extra speed gains that you get, that it is totally worth it. The other thing is, Joe mentions here, the paid version gives you more information, so the paid version is really great. And then an opposing view, Daniel says, other than access to GPT-4, I haven't noticed a difference between the free and paid versions. So I would say, maybe is there, maybe that's a good thing to check it out, or check out like a video that I could do where I'm like, let's test, the free version versus the paid version and see what happens. So yeah, Marcus says, Jasper is going to take a hit. Now, the one thing that I wondered about is like when Jasper, and I don't know, maybe they have, but when Jasper starts using GPT-4, if the output is going to get much better, or if they're still going to have, fucking such short responses. Jasper got better, but it's still like when you look at what you were getting and how shitty Jasper was before, it's really great that OpenAI, and there's no affiliate program for OpenAI, and I'm not like I said, I'm not a great affiliate. I don't earn much of my money from referring like products like this or whatever, so I don't care. I don't care that much. And it really opens it up. That's the thing in this space, in the affiliate marketing world, or like influencers in air quotes, on YouTube, they're like, oh man, you really got to use this or that, or it's this theme is the best, or this hosting company is the best. They're not saying that when they're not earning money from it, right? It's extremely rare for someone to really be a huge fan of a product and they're not earning any money from it. So they're incentivized to tell you that it's really great. it's really great to use that product, and there's really not a substitute. And and they're like, oh, you get extra value from the front end, and it's actually better. But if you could just access the tool directly, I can see there. I'll give you one scenario. I don't know if Jasper is doing this now, but one thing that you could do, right? If you had a team of writers that maybe they weren't well qualified to use ChatGPT, and you could set up like templates and certain things within a tool like Jasper, or another one where maybe a prompt is trained already and they don't have access to train it, right? Like the writer doesn't have access to alter it. And you could just kind of control things, right? I don't think Jasper does that, but if that was a thing, that would be great. Another quick observation, there's a lot of tools that are coming out like in the short term, and people are like excited and are creating tools with the API. I am pretty sure before too long, like, I mean, I think we already know, like Microsoft with their hands inside of open AI, right? They're partnered up. We're going to have basically the chatbot and the chat capability and GPT-4 capability within all of the Office suite of products, right? So it's going to be in uh, Word, it'll be in Excel, it'll be in PowerPoint, fucking email as well, Outlook. It'll be in all that stuff. Google has some pretty good AI stuff from what I hear too, right? So it's going to be in Gmail. It's going to be in the Google suite of products as well before too long. So a lot of these tools that are kicking up, whatever in the last couple months and for the next few months, they're going to probably see some cool growth, and then people are going to have access to the tools for no additional cost inside Gmail, inside Google Docs, Word, whatever. Those tools are going to just fall away. If they're lucky, best case scenario, they'll grow pretty quick, get some traction, and sell to some bigger company, and then they're out of it. The rest of the tools are going to die like a slow death with affiliates saying how good they are, right? That's I almost never make predictions. That's my predictions. Those are my predictions, rather. All right, and then we have to chat here. Bradbury says the price of ChatGPT is certainly enticing at the moment. My suspicion is that we'll see it increase shortly. Johnny says $20 a month kills their competition. Marcus says I bought a lot of AI writing tools at AppSumo last year, and I'm thinking of selling some now before they become worthless. Yep. I think I think so. So Marcus, do you like sell your license to them or something? Like after you buy like a lifetime? Here's another pro tip. Just unsubscribe from AppSumo and don't buy shit you don't need. Also unpopular. All right. Couch says it's difficult to differentiate new development apps and tools after years of work. Human creativity has to jump in. Okay, Bard is coming to Docs, and Microsoft Office will have the tools too. And Marcus says, thank God I didn't make a niche site about AI writing tools. I think like the heyday would have been like the last, like if you started a year and a half ago, I said it on live streams. I said, if you start a YouTube channel on comparing the products and do like really in-depth reviews, you would do great. I think, there were some people doing it, but I don't think there was like a good YouTube video using the tools, paying for the tools, using them, comparing them back and forth, and then having the blog post to go along with it, screenshots and all that, and have the reciprocal link. So, all right, Marcus says you could change the email address for most tools and hand it over. Okay, cool. And D, what's up? You can waste hours on AppSumo and you had 50 success rate. And the thing is, like, I've bought back in the day. This is years now. I haven't been over there in a while, but like a handful of the tools that I bought, they went away. They stopped updating them, or they went out of business or whatever. And others just, they seemed really good at the time, and then later, and I guess there's still deadlines and stuff, but it was like a 24-hour sale on a certain product, and you get lifetime access for like $80. And then unfortunately, they ended up with too many customers that never were going to pay any money to them again. So the companies end up going out of business. Okay. And Daniel says, I have two AI related domains, and I feel like it's too late now. All right. Oh, John, what's up, buddy? I interviewed John for the podcast. He's on this channel. Check out John's interview. John says, are people here using ChatGPT to write entire articles, or using them to refine articles as a human, or that a human wrote? So I think that is probably a mix. It's hard to get a decent poll, but people feel free to say what you're doing. And we'll kick off here in a second. Quick plug for a recent video. I published a video yesterday, and I interviewed Jamie, who I've talked to, I think, twice before. And if you enjoyed this, or actually, if you enjoyed it or if you didn't enjoy it, this should be 100% of the people that are on here. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, and if you didn't learn something, check out the video that I published yesterday. Jamie talks about his site, very high RPM, revenue per 1,000 visitors. It's affiliate content. We go pretty in depth. And if you have the ability to pop over there, if you watch the whole thing, that's super cool. If you don't watch it, that's okay. Leave a comment, though. It could just be short. Hey, cool interview. Hey, it could be a cool interview. I didn't watch it. You could be funny, right? Here's a good one. Go to ChatGPT and put in like the name of the video and say, hey, what questions should I ask? And then you put in the questions into the comments there. Comments are good. YouTube likes comments. So, and vote here. Daniel says the Jamie interview was awesome. Yeah. All right. Okay. And we'll hit the rest here. Thanks everyone in the chat. All right. Johnny says most of AppSumo is trash. I think some of them are all right, but like, don't buy stuff you don't need, basically. All right. Marcus says you found a few good ones recently. Okay. AppSumo has gone downhill in the last year, but a few years ago, you can get some great products. Another vote for going downhill. Oh, Fred is on. Hey, buddy. Couch says you never discovered AppSumo until recently, which is good. That's good. You don't need, like, the thing is there was so much like scarcity built in that you felt like you were missing something, and you're like, I have to buy it now. I'll use it in the future. Yeah, there was one dude I knew, and he had like webinar software, he had like email software, he had email software so that he can segment and clean his list. Meanwhile, he didn't have a fucking email list, but he had the software to do it. And he had the webinar software so that he could sell stuff. And he had the course platform as well. I think so. He didn't have a course, didn't have the email list. So he had this whole marketing funnel of products that he didn't know how to use. And also he didn't use them. D uses ChatGPT for outlines and updating old content. Note for writing full articles. Okay, cool. A lot of thumbs up. Jamie is nailing it. Nice. And a lot of stuff. Johnny says this. A lot of stuff on AppSumo has a free alternative. Okay, cool. Thanks for hanging out with me, everyone. I didn't mean to talk this long, but it was pretty fun. And I think that's it for today. So check out the other video. Like I said, Jamie's is pretty cool. If you want to see some of the more interesting stuff over on or for ChatGPT, I have released a few videos recently. And if you have any ideas on topics that you want me to cover with ChatGPT specifically, shoot me an email. You could reach out to me directly. Doug@nichesiteproject.com. You can ask in the comments too. I see those, but the email's better because I see the comments, but I don't look that often. I'll be honest with you. I could look a little closer and all that, but I just don't do it. Comments are crazy. All right, I think that's it. Thanks again to Odys, and we'll catch y'all next week.